Welcome back. We are discussing about the cybersecurity threats, vulnerabilities, and cybersecurity attack. In the previous sessions, we covered the cybersecurity threats, that is malware and the malicious code. And then we observed that some of the vulnerabilities done through your the email and browsing attack. Then we have seen the some of the deception and deception methods. In this session we'll try to discuss the cyber security attacks, which are very important. We'll see one by one what are the different types of cyber security attacks are there. So we'll try to discuss and explore how these attacks takes place into the picture. So we'll see the cyber security attacks one by one. The first, we will try to discuss the types of cyber security attacks. In the types of cyber security attacks, uh, we'll talk more about it. Let me just close the camera. Okay. Yeah. So, the in this attack, we find the types of cyber attacks. The first one we find the denial of service attack. So, the denial of service attack or a type of network attack. It is a denial of service attack results in some sort of interruption of network services to users, devices, or applications. So there are two major types of denial of service attacks. One is overwhelming quantity of traffic. The first one is you find the overwhelming quantity of traffic, and another one is the second one is the maliciously formatted packets. Maliciously formatted packets. Right? So, in overwhelming quantity of traffic, the attacker sends an enormous quantity of data at a rate that the uh, network or the end devices, or we can say the host, or the application, any applications. Okay. So these attackers no sends the enormous quantity of data at the rate that either the network host or any applications cannot handle. So this cause a slowdown in transmission or response or a crash of a device or services. Whereas in the second one, the maliciously formatted packets, the attacker sends a maliciously formatted packet to a host or application, and the receiver is unable to handle it. For example, an application cannot identify packets containing an errors or improperly formatted packets forwarded by the attacker. So this caused the receiving device to run very slowly or crash. So this denial of service attacks are a major risk because they can easily interrupt communication and cause a significant loss of time and money. So these attacks are relatively simple to conduct even by an unskilled attacker. The goal of denial of service attack is to deny access to authorized users, making the network unavailable. So remember the three underlying security principles, that is confidentiality, integrity, and availability. So we'll see this in this animation how this denial of service attacks takes place. Let me just play this for you. So see here in this we have a attacker here, the denial of service attacker. Okay, and in the network you are finding the web server of some XYZ corporation and the users which are connected to that web server. So how this denial of service attack takes place, we can observe here. The attackers, DOS attackers, sends the enormous data to this particular web server, so that if these users trying to access, these legitimate users trying to access the web pages from this web server cannot handle those the request. So that becomes slow down, and the legitimate users thinks that the server is busy, right? You can see that. So I will send so many ping that the server cannot respond to anyone. That is the intention of DOS attacker. So continuously attacker is pinging to the web server where the web server cannot accomplish any task. So if the legitimate user, this website is trying to access this web server, finds that this web service is very slow. This web service is very slow because the web server is busy with DOS attacker, busy to provide the service. So an attacker builds a network. So another type of attack that you find, the distributed denial of service attack. So this distributed denial of service attack is similar to your denial of service attack, but it originates from multiple coordinated sources. So an example of your distributed denial of service attack could proceed as: an attacker builds a network of infected hosts called a botnet. Called a botnet. Okay, let me just write it. Yeah, the host one, the attacker, distributed denial of service attackers, builds a network which is infected host. We call them as your the botnet, or comprised of your zombies. Botnet are comprised of your zombies. Okay, so these zombies are the infected hosts. So the attacker uses the handler system to control the zombies. The zombie computers constantly scan and infected more hosts, creating more zombies. So when ready, the hacker instructs the handler systems to make the botnet of zombies carry out the distributed denial of service attack. So let us see that in this animation, that how this distributed denial of service attacker makes these legitimate users as zombies. Okay, so this distributed denial of service attacker sends the infected the message to the computers, the infected computers across the internet with the distributed denial of service code, and then he's going to activate them. Then distributed denial of service code activate these legitimate users, they become the zombies. So they are trying to send the more data packets to the web servers, where web server become the overloaded with too much traffic. So other user, this web server cannot be attacked by the cannot be connected to the other legitimate users, right? So then, let us see the another type of attack is sniffing attack. In sniffing attack, the sniffing is similar to eavesdropping on someone. So it occurs when attackers examine all network traffic as it passes through their network interface card (NIC), that independent of whether or not the traffic is addressed to them or not. So criminals accomplish network sniffing with a software application or hardware devices, or a combination of the two, software and hardware. So you can see, as shown in this picture, that there is a TCP sniffer is there, TCP streaming is there. So in this figure, the sniffing views all network traffic, or it can target a specific protocol. So in the backside, you found all the network traffic or any specific the the message, or any specific, it's the protocol that it can say. It may be TCP version or UDP version protocols, or FTP protocols. So when it is when in the snipping view all the network traffic, or it can target a specific protocol, service, or even string of characters such as login credentials, your username and password credentials, which you are finding here, right? So some network sniffers observe all traffic and modify some or all of the traffic as well. So the sniffing also has its benefit, that network administrators may also use sniffers to analyze the network traffic, identify bandwidth issues, and troubleshoot other network issues. Physical security is important in preventing the introduction of sniffers on the network, the internal network, right? So next, we'll see the another type of attacks is your spoofing. Okay. So in the spoofing, just give me a second, please. Yeah, sorry for that. So spoofing is an impersonation attack, and it takes advantage of a trusted relationship between two systems. So, if two systems accept the authentication accomplished by each other, an individual logged onto one system might not go through an authentication process again to access the other system. So, an attacker can take advantage of this arrangement by sending a packet to one system that appears to have come from a trusted system. Since the trusted relationship is in place, the targeted system may perform the requested task without authentication. So there are multiple types of spoofing attacks are there. One is the one spoofing attack is, sorry, yeah, MAC address spoofing. MAC address spoofing. So, in MAC address spoofing occurs when one computer accepts data packets based on the MAC address of another computer. That is the physical address. Another spoofing is the IP spoofing. So in IP spoofing, the IP addresses are used. So IP spoofing sends the IP packets from a spoofed source address to disguise itself. And the third one is the address resolution protocol. Okay, you might have heard about the ARP. The address resolution protocol is a protocol that resolves IP address to it resolves the IP address to your MAC address. Your MAC address. So this ARP, this resolves IP address to MAC address for transmitting the data. So ARP spoofing sends a spoofed ARP messages across a LAN to link the criminal's MAC address with the IP addresses of an authorized member of the network. Another spoofing is your DNS spoofing. DNS. The domain name system associates domain names with the IP addresses. So DNS server spoofing modifies the DNS server to reroute a specific domain name to a different IP address controlled by the criminals. Controlled by this criminal. So this is the spoofing, which is very dangerous one. Okay, and the another the another attack is sorry the man in the middle attack. So a criminal performs a man in the middle attack by intercepting a communication between computers to steal information across the network. The criminal can also choose to manipulate messages and relay false information between hosts since the hosts are unaware that a modification to their message occurred. So, man in the middle attack allows the criminals to take control of uh, allows the criminals to take control over a device without the user's knowledge. Without the user's knowledge. So let us see this in this diagram. You can observe in the first step, you can see the step by step process in the first, second, third, and fourth step, how the criminal works as man in the middle attack. So in the first step, if you see here, when a victim here, when a victim request a web page from this web server, the request is directed to the hacker's computer. It's not directly connected to this web server. It is directed to the hacker's computer, right? So in the second step, the attacker computer or the hacker computer receives the request and retrieve the real page from the legitimate web server, and that legitimate page, in the step 3, the attacker can alter the legitimate web page which is got from this web server. So attacker can alter this legitimate web page and apply the transformation to the data, and that modified page sends the attacker forwards that requested page, modified requested page, to the victim. So a man in the middle attack is a variation of man in middle. Sorry, man in the mobile attack is a variation of your man in the middle attack. So man in the mobile attack takes control over a mobile device. The infected mobile device sends user sensitive information to the attackers. So you might have heard about the what you call the Jews as an example of an exploit with the man in the mobile capabilities that allows attackers quietly to capture two-step verification SMS messages sent to the user. For example, when a user set up an Apple ID and set up the Apple ID, if any user set up this Apple ID, uh, then he or she must provide an SMS capable phone number to receive the SMS capable phone number, or to receive this SMS, the phone number will be provided. To receive a temporary verification code via text message to prove the user's identity. So, malware spies on this type of communication and relays the information back to the criminal. So, a reply attack occurs when an attacker captures a portion of and communication between two hosts and then retransmits the captured message later. So replay attack, circumvent the authentication mechanism. So this is all about the man in the middle attack. So then comes to 0 day attacks. Okay. So in 0 day attack, uh, sometimes referred to as a 0 day threat, is a computer attack that tries to exploit software vulnerabilities that are unknown or undisclosed by the software vendors. The term 0 hour describes the moment when someone discovers the exploit. During the time it takes the software vendor to develop and release a patch, the network is vulnerable to these exploits. As shown in this figure, defending against these fast moving attack requires network security professionals to adopt a more sophisticated view of the network architecture. So it is no longer possible uh, to contain intrusion at a few points in the network. At a few points in the network. So you can find here that in 0 day malware in the world, at day 16, the first antivirus signature developed to find out that. At 16 days, second antivirus signature is developed. At 18 day, third signature is developed. So in the traditional response, the security advisor issues the Microsoft Internet Explorer patches. So this 0 day attack, sometimes referred to as your 0 day threat, and is a computer attack that tries to exploit software vulnerabilities that are unknown or undisclosed by the software vendors. Like, so the another one is the keyboard logging attack. So in keyboard logging attack, so this keyboard logging is a software program that records or logs the keystrokes of the users of system. Criminals can implement keystroke loggers through software installed on a computer system or through hardware physically attached to a computer. The criminal configures the keylogger software to email the log file. The keystrokes captured in the log file can reveal usernames, passwords, websites visited, and other sensitive information. The other sensitive information. So the keyboard loggers can be legitimate commercial software. So this the parents often purchases keylogger software to track the websites and behavior of children using the internet. So many anti-spyware applications are able to detect and remove unauthorized keyloggers. Although keylogging software is legal, criminals use the software for illegal purpose. So another type of cybersecurity attack is this, keyboard logger. So what are the defending against these attacks then? The defending attack against these attacks. That is, an organization can take a number of steps to defend against various attacks. They must take the some the defending against these attacks, the cybersecurity attacks. So, one, the organizations, any organization, the organizations can take a number of steps to defend against these kind of viruses. One is configure the firewalls, configure the firewalls is one. To discard any packets from outside of your network that have addresses indicating that they are originated from the inside the network. So this situation does not normally occur, and it indicates that a cyber criminal attempted a spoofing attack. And the second one is to prevent the denial of service attack or distributed denial of service attacks. It ensures to prevent this DOS or DDoS attack, ensures the patches and the upgrades are current. So in the operating system, whatever the patches and updates are current. So distribute the workload across server systems and block external internet control message protocols. Block all the internet control message protocols. In a internet control message protocol packets at the border. So the network devices uses this internet control message protocol packets to send error messages. For example, the ping command uses the ICMP packets to verify that a device can communicate with another on the network. And another way, system can prevent failing victim to replay attack by encrypting traffic and providing the cryptographic authentication and including a timestamp with each portion of the message. So these are some of the defending the against the attacks, right? So then I would like to stop this session here, and in the coming lecture, we are going to talk about the wireless and mobile device attacks. So, I hope you got the idea about this. So, in the next lecture, we are going to talk about the some of the attacks that comes under the wireless devices, and how this wireless and mobile device attacks undergo through the cyber attacks, and what are the defending methods that we will discuss in the next lecture. Thank you.